I distracted myself with an octopus. So hey, everyone who's just joining the recording, you missed the first bit. I apologize. I forgot to hit record. We were just talking about the fact that if you go to account defaults and the security tab, you can see login history and security history for people inside your account, users, things they're doing. You can control whether or not HubSpot employees have access to your account for support and stuff. And then on your CRM records, there are two histories you should be aware of. I apologize, everyone who's here live, having to hear the synopsis all over again. But just be aware, you can view property history here, see every update that was made to every property for this particular record. And you can also view your association history to see, who changed what records this record is associated to. Those of you in person have now heard this twice. It's all going to stick in your head. It's a pedagogy choice. Anyway, thank you, Debbie. Other questions?
All right. So Lee is here with the first question, and she's asking, does this automatically capture all properties on all records? And does the history doesn't need to be enabled anywhere, does it?
Right. Yeah. This is just HubSpot is doing this. So if you go into your account and open a record and look at the history, it'll be there. This is not a thing you have to turn on, and I don't think you're able to turn it off. We are just always recording histories.
All right, excellent. Stacy says, I have noticed you can't see association history on tasks. Any chance this will change? Had a user accusing HubSpot of glitching today, but we're sure it was a user error. Just can't prove it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that. I'm happy to dig into it if you want. Tasks continue to be sort of an odd category inside of HubSpot where they're not really a full object, but they're a little more than like an activity on the timeline. As far as I know, there is not an association history for them, but that's something I'd be happy to explore. If you want to email that question to me, kjepson@hubspot.com, or send it to me, DM me on LinkedIn. I would love to explore that.
All right, excellent. Aaron says, portal setting question. Is there something coming in the pipeline where it will auto-associate contacts to companies based on the domain, but not create a new company if the domain doesn't match?
Oh, interesting. So currently, if you import kjepson@hubspot.com and you have that setting turned on, then either my record will get created and I will be associated to an existing HubSpot.com company record, or if there is no company record, it will create a new company record and associate that to me. You want me to be associated to HubSpot if HubSpot exists, but to have no company record and no company record created if it does not exist? That's a delightful question. I really like it because we are doing things with import. We're thinking a lot about options around creating. So I'll just I don't. So I have nothing. I have seen only prototypes of this. So this may be months and months out, and it may change a lot. And so this is not a promise to you that this is exactly how things will work. But if you are familiar with how things work inside of DataSync, if I have DataSync set up for Square, well, here. So in DataSync, we recently introduced this option of, do you want to create new contacts and update, or do you only want to update existing contacts? We are going to start building this kind of logic into imports as well. I don't know for sure with associations if that is on the roadmap, but I'm happy to send that feedback along to that team because, like I said, big changes are coming for import, which is amazing news to me considering how many big changes have already come to import this year. But you're going to get a lot more granular controls over things like that in the coming months. So I don't know specifically if that thing is coming, but we are thinking about those sorts of things.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Kyle. Jill says, is there something we need to enroll in for the view account login history to display? I just looked in our portal and we still only have the export option. Thanks.
Interesting. So I need to invent, like I said, I discovered this table existed as I was prepping for this today. And so I don't know if this is a thing that's rolling out. I don't know if it's a thing that's in beta. I know sometimes we will release updates to just internal HubSpot portals first, so we HubSpot employees can figure out if they're buggy before we send them on to you. I don't know. I don't know if it's a specific tier thing. I need to investigate that, but it could be I was just giving you a glimpse into the future. The export should have everything that you saw in the table, and hopefully that lovely table view will be coming to you soon.
Okay, great. Great question from Jen. Can that account login area be used as an adoption check to see if users are in HubSpot as often as they should be?
I like that idea a lot. Yeah, so I mean, again, maybe you don't have access to see it in this format, and I'm sorry. But like, if we want to see when's the last time, this guy logged in, like, hasn't been in here since December. Maybe we should follow up with him, right? If you have some expectation of how frequently a user is going to be using this, this is a great place to, instead of just asking them, come in and see, are they actually accessing this?
All right. I'm seeing Amelia here says, will we see deals in association histories as well?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. Let's go look at a deal and see, because you're right. I believe the contact we were looking at had a deal associated to it, but we were only seeing the company association information. So maybe that's the only place. Oh, we have association history here. Oh, there's a drop down. Okay, so I bet if we go back to that contact, did I actually click that button? Oh, there we go. Okay, just being a little slow here. Yes, so we can go to actions, association history, and I am predicting, yes, we were looking at just company things, but if we want to look at deals, we can see this deal was just associated on this day. We can see it for all the different, we can see it for tasks. How about that? Person who asked about tasks.
Excellent.
There you go. Question answered.
Excellent.
This is how we learn how to use HubSpot. This is why I run these webinars. Okay, I hope that's helpful.
Yes, so there's one from Andreas. Hi, Kyle. When merging contacts the workflow shoots again notifications for things that the original contact had in the past. How to avoid re-enroll merged contacts.
Oh, okay. At Inbound Live, in person, I learned that you all are pretty dissatisfied with how merging records in HubSpot works. I did not realize how much pain was associated with merging contacts, but I had requests around, choosing, this bit of history and this bit of history. I had a lot of requests thematically related to this about maybe I want this one to be the primary, but I want it to preserve the enrollment history of this one so it doesn't get re-enrolled. I have checked in with the team, and they are setting their 2023 priorities. They don't know for sure what new things are coming for merging logic in HubSpot. I don't expect any big updates in the remainder of 2022. And it's still too early to say what might happen in 2023. But I at least now am aware that merging could use some serious improvements. And I have put a bug in the ear of that product team. I don't know how much sway I actually hold there. I don't know any of them personally, but I'm happy to pass this along too, to let them know. But yeah, I don't have a slam dunk answer for that.
All right. Jenny says, I love that you can view histories rather than needing to export it. I don't see that as an option in my account. Is this
sorry? Okay,
out?
I will take that as my to-do after this. I will research what's going on with that and when you all can expect to have access to it, and if there's a way for you to get beta access. I don't know. I stumbled upon it. Like I said, I wasn't expecting it, and apparently you all don't. Sounds like I would love to hear. Has anyone here looked and seen that they have it, or are you all just still exporting spreadsheets? That would be. I'd be interested to know if someone has access to it.
Let's see in the chat pane.
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing lots of no's. Okay. Okay. I I'm sorry to tease you with something you don't have access to. I will investigate that and get to the bottom of it.
All right. And the last one from Casey. Any plans on being able to create notes within a workflow?
I don't know. I'll have to just say I don't know to that one. That's another one. Feel free to email me, kjepson@hubspot.com, or send me a message on LinkedIn. I can look into that. I feel like maybe I have heard something about that, but maybe the thing I've heard is someone else requesting the same feature. I don't know of anything that's coming, but I can find out.
Okay, great. I think Carly is in the chat pane and says you can do this.
Should we explore together?
Let's go for it.
Let's do it. So Carly, if you are up for it, I will just give you ability to share your screen. Are you up for that? Mm-hmm. I will give you the option, and you can choose whether or not you take me up on it.
Right.
Presenter mode on, live, unscripted. We'll see if she joins us.
Okay.
Oh, there she is. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Okay, I just need to make sure that I'm not lying, but I am pretty sure you can do this.
Go for it.
So give me a sec. I've got an ultra wide monitor. Oh, yes, there is an option just to choose a window. Okay.
Fancy.
All right.
Thank you.
Amazing.
I never know when I offer people to come on stage if they're, whoa, and you have the new.
I have the new nav, so give me a sec.
Yeah.
All right, but if we just, let's see if I can get like a really good one. I've got, okay, here's a really hefty workflow we have going on right now. But over here on the right, you can leave comments and stuff and collaborate. You can like @mention other users, but also, let's see, actually I've got a better example. All right, so I've got 3 different workflow templates for when we put together webinars, and I've got little notes here.
So who asked the question, Debbie?
Yeah.
I thought, Casey, were you asking about like adding a note to the timeline or notes like this on the workflow itself?
This was my interpretation of the question. Of course, if I'm wrong, let me know. Thank you for the hype, Debbie. But anyway, this is a template I have one of our demand gen guys working on every time he puts together a webinar with Zoom. So I've got these templates that he always clones, and then just little notes in here. Like, make sure that you turn this other workflow on and stuff. And they're on the actions. And then also these comments popped up maybe a couple of months ago, where you can go in and leave notes and stuff. Yeah.
So this collaboration sidebar is my new favorite thing, and I want it to be everywhere in HubSpot. It is slowly expanding more and more places. So yeah, this ability to add internal notes to collaborate with your team, definitely a thing in workflows. The ability to add notes to a timeline of a record, I don't think is currently. I mean, my answer to anything that can't be done in a workflow is that you can always, with Operations Hub, custom code something and use the APIs, but I recognize that is not a satisfactory explanation for a request like this. So thanks, Carly.
Oh yeah, okay. Awesome, I'll stop sharing and mute myself. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I will say, I really miss in-person hugs where things like that are much easier and smoother and less technologically demanding to just make it a conversation and be able to hear your voices and feel your energy from all of you. We will continue going with webinar format for now, but I am all for interactivity. So if you have thoughts you ever want to share, I am happy to hand the microphone off to someone else. So, all right, I'm back to sharing my screen. The last thing I want to mention is just the ability to deactivate users. So users and teams, when you are managing your teams, you can, of course, remove a user entirely, but that sometimes has negative downstream effects. If you have reporting you want to maintain, if you have other things you want to maintain, you can deactivate the user, and then they will no longer be able to log into the account. And they will actually get an automated email from HubSpot saying you are no longer able to log into your account. But they will still be in here. So I definitely recommend that all of you as admins have a clear rule in your mind of when a user should be deactivated and when they should be removed entirely, and what the order of operations is there. It's just something good to have a policy around, so you don't delete someone and lose some data that you were actually sad to lose. So that is the basic troubleshooting stuff. Again, all of these things are available in every version of HubSpot, although the format of the security logs apparently varies a little bit, and I'm sorry about that. There's my live demo. So just quick pondering questions. Are you using these things? Are you the right person to be using them? Who needs access to these things? That security tab is tied to super admin access. There isn't a way to just partition it out and give special access to someone, I don't think. And so be mindful of that. Who gets access to it, who shouldn't be able to see these things. Now let's go to more advanced stuff. Let's talk about how to troubleshoot workflows, and let's talk about how to troubleshoot custom reports, because this is where things can get really thorny. If you have a really complex workflow, if you have a fully custom report, there are questions that will come out and come up, and people will look to you for wisdom and insight. And there are some very useful tools and some sort of insider knowledge you should just have. So for workflows, we recently added some cool stuff for workflows. I think this is probably a good one to look at. So if you click on a workflow's name, it just takes you to the workflow editor, but you can view details. Each workflow gets its own details page. And you have a couple of tabs here. So here you can see just general performance, but for troubleshooting, the things you're really interested in are the action logs. Enrollment history is great. You can see all the records that came through, and you can see whether or not they completed the workflow, and that's fine. But action logs gives you some really important troubleshooting tools. Again, just as you want to be able to see property histories and association histories, because sometimes the thing you need to know is the way something used to be, not the way it is now. Action logs gives you a peek into the history of workflows. You can look at the actions that occurred for different revisions of a particular workflow. So this workflow has been revised several times. If it's grayed out, that means I saved this workflow, but I never turned it on. And if it was never turned on, nothing was ever enrolled, no actions were ever taken, so I can't click on it. But if we click on here, we can see the May 13th, 2021 revision that I did at 3:20. I took this one deal through it, but 2 minutes later, I saved it. There were some changes, and 2 more deals went through, right? And if you're looking at one of these revisions and there are a lot of records that went through, you're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, you can look and see just a particular deal, what happened with it. And this is not super interesting. This is a one-step workflow, and it's custom code, so it's a bit of a black box. But if you have a lot of branching logic, if you have a lot of different actions, if you're wondering where a record that got enrolled ended up, here you'll be able to see that all listed out. You'll be able to see which branch it went down and what end states it achieved, which can be really great if the workflow is now different, right? Maybe the branching logic has changed, or there are more or fewer branches, or they're new or removed actions. Here you can see what they went through, what it looked like at the time. So this is a key thing for you to be aware of as you are troubleshooting your workflows. Let's see. And then enrollment testing. Yeah, let me just show you this, and then I'll pause for questions if there are any. If we look at this workflow, which actually I think is a super not interesting workflow, we'll find a different workflow. We'll just do that same one we were looking at. Come on. Faster. Okay. Yeah, we'll look at this one again. When you are creating a workflow, this one has no triggers either. Come on. I'm sorry. You can test it. You should just test your workflows. So let's look at this one. How about? And here we go. This one has a little bit of cool. So you can test to see if a particular, in this case, it's a quote-based workflow, but you can select a record that you want to send through, and you can see whether or not it meets the enrollment criteria. And then if there are different branches, it'll tell you which one it went down. Another thing that's sort of fun is if this is a workflow that is sending emails, you can check this box and the email will be sent to you, but the personalization tokens will all be filled in as though it was the record and the contact associated with it. So this one doesn't actually enroll. I don't know if I have any. I probably don't have any that are pending approval. But you can just test as many different records as you want. So this is a good way. These are not actually getting enrolled. You are not actually sending these records through and updating them. So you can get a sense if your logic is working right, if your enrollment criteria is working properly. If you have a record you know should be enrolled and you have a record you know shouldn't be enrolled, or if you have one right branch and one you know should go down the left branch, use this testing feature to see if they actually go down. And then you can get a sense of what's happening and whether that matches your intuitions of what should be happening with this particular workflow. Any questions about workflows?
Okay, great. So we have, is there a way to see what deactivated users are connected to workflows?
Connected to workflows in what regard? Like if there's a lead rotation object action, or connected to them in the sense of they edited or created the workflow?
Yeah, so you've probably deactivated a user. So what workflows are associated with that user that was deactivated? Is there a way to see that?
That's a good question. I don't know for sure what happens with, should we just test it real quick? Okay. We'll go test it real quick. So if we go to users and teams, and we will deactivate my alter ego here. Poor guy gets deactivated regularly. Now, if we go over to workflows, he probably hasn't ever created a workflow, but what will be important is whether or not we can see him here. So we can still see him here. So I suspect, again, he hasn't created anything, but I suspect that this is one of the things that is preserved. You can still filter workflows and see, property histories and anything they have edited and changed. They won't be able to log in and change any more things, but you will still be able to trace things back to them. Is my understanding. I've never done it before. If any of you have experience with deactivated users and you have run into trouble where you expected to be able to see something and you couldn't, I would love to hear that in the chat so I don't lead anyone astray.
Okay, Brian is asking, will the action logs show why a record followed a specific if-then branch? What rule it met to follow the branch, and what property values on the record met that rule?
That seems like a reasonable question. I don't probably have a good demo to show you for sure. Email that one to me. Perfect. Here's an if-then branch. Oh no, I've clicked the wrong thing. Yeah, we don't want to edit that. Sorry. Let's go back here. Event details is what we actually wanted. So it says which branch it went down. I guess it doesn't say what the criteria were. So I don't know if that answers the question. But Brian, feel free to chime in.
Right, because I mean, if the event is there, I guess the criteria is going to be implied, right? That's why it went down that route.
Right. The thing I am a little unclear on, we just saw if I click if then branch, it opens the workflow and opens that action. If we have since edited that action and it now has different criteria, I don't know for sure what you see if you click on it.
Great observation.
And I mean, we could figure that out, but Brian, email me or DM me. I'm happy to put together a Loom to show you what happens if I were to go in and change this if then branch and then try to access this history again.
Okay, great. Jenny wants to know if I forget to enable re-enrollment in a workflow, what's the quickest way to do that?
That is a very reasonable question that I just don't know the answer to off the top of my head. I would love for people to weigh in the chat. There are 95 of you here. I'm sure somebody is a workflows ninja and can just explain the best way to do that. I find that with re-enrollment, my intuitions are very bad about how it works and when it doesn't work and when it is and is not available. And so I'm not gonna guess, and I'm not gonna force you to watch me click around and try to figure it out. But if anyone has recommendations, Okay, recommendations are coming in. So just check the chat on that one. You got lots of friends here. They got your back.
Excellent. Okay, so Ray here says, random question, will there ever be a way to look at custom object records in a list view to see associated contacts or companies along with it?
So when you say list view, do you mean like a page like this index? On contacts, we can add like a column for associated companies, right? Is that you want to see something like this for custom objects, or do you mean the actual lists tool where you can currently create lists for contacts and companies but nothing else? Not list tool. Great. Okay, not list tool. Great. I don't know for sure. That custom objects are continuing to mature, and I feel like we are so close in a lot of ways. But I recognize, are missing just a couple of I have created a custom property that calculates numbers, but as far as actually linking to records, we don't currently have that, and I don't know for sure what the plan is there.
All right, and the last question from Andreas. So is it better to deactivate users versus delete users to keep association history intact?
In general, I think yes. I don't. Again, I feel like you would be better relying on some of your peers here in the meeting, in the chat. I would love to hear if anyone has an established rule or policy around when a deactivated user gets deleted. I would guess it has a lot to do with how many employees you have and what your turnover rate is, right? If you have 7 people inside your account and one of them is deactivated and has been for 5 years, that doesn't seem awful to me. If you have 300 people in there and you're deactivating 10 a quarter, now the list is going to get unruly, right? And you're going to want to probably remove people eventually. But sounds like functional delete, deactivate is better than full delete. We don't delete. We never delete users. Yeah, years ago, this wasn't an option. Deleting was a nightmare. I highly encourage deactivating. Okay, so maybe never delete. Maybe I think deactivation is superior in every way. So yeah, just stick with that unless there's some really compelling reason for you to delete.
All right, and that's it. Thanks.
Yep, thank you. You are, oops, wrong way. So you're doing great. I appreciate it. Now let's talk about custom reports. We'll talk about filters first. So let's, what did I, oh, there it is. Okay. So let's go to a report. Yeah, we'll create a report here. A very common point of confusion with reports is filtering. And this is true even if you're just making a very basic single object report. The sort of questions you will get a lot as admins from other people on your team, or that you might find yourself asking yourself, are things like this, right? Let's say we want to create a report of form submissions. We want to know how many. We'll filter this to all time, and we'll filter it to just people who have submitted my registration form, right? What I want is a chart that shows me how many people are filling out this registration form. And it turns out there are just 2 people who have filled out this registration form. Great. And we come to the visualization, and we're going to make a bar chart, and we're going to put form submissions, and we're going to put count of contacts. And for some reason, even though I filtered it to registration form, I'm seeing lots of other forms in this list. Which some of you are like, yeah, duh, Kyle. And some of you are like, what is going on? I'm in the what is going on category. It took a lot of patience from the support team to explain to me why this. What is going on here is we are not actually making a report of form submissions. We are making a report of contacts. And we have filtered this list to look at only the contacts who have submitted the registration form. But those 2 contacts, those 2 guys we saw, they have submitted lots of forms besides registration form. So even though we are only looking at people who have submitted registration form, we are looking at all the forms they've submitted, not just registration form. It turns out this is actually not the right way to create a report about your forms, which I'll get to in just a second. But I think in general, as you're creating reports, as people on your team are creating reports, there is this sense of, oh, I'll grab this piece of data and I'll do this thing and I'll filter and I'll get exactly what I want. And then you get something that is so obviously not what you wanted that you feel certain in your heart that HubSpot has betrayed you and is broken. And as a person, me, who does not have a lot of reporting intelligence, I consider reporting my Achilles heel inside the HubSpot platform. I'm absolutely not the right person to ask if you have complicated reporting issues. That's my friend Jory. They're all over that. But I think you just need to pause for a minute and think about what is the actual records you're trying to pull a report on. What are the actual metrics you're trying to measure, and how are you going to visualize that? And a lot of times, if you just rush through it like I just did, you will end up with a report that doesn't make any sense. So just a word of encouragement to you as people come to you and say, HubSpot is broken. My report is showing things I did not ask for that I explicitly filtered out. What is wrong? Just got to pause, take a breath, take a step back, and figure out what were we actually trying to report on, and is that the thing we put into the system? It turns out there actually is no good way to pull a report of forms using this, which is why we have created a whole new reporting tool just for forms. Apparently, this is a recent addition. Those of you who have been marketing through HubSpot for a long time are probably very exasperated that it took us so long to get here. But under analytics tools, there's forms analytics. And here you can filter to just, the particular registration form you're interested in, right? And you can look at different types and you can save this report onto a dashboard. But this is, again, a fairly recent addition. It seemed intuitive that you would go to contacts to create a report, and that's not the way to do it if you're reporting on forms. And there are other places where these sorts of confusion can come through, where we just don't think analytically enough. We rush through where we think we want to go. We're not actually asking the right questions, and so we're getting the wrong answers. So that is thing number one I want to say about reports. Thing number two pains me even a little more to say. I hope you all know I love HubSpot. I mean, like, honestly, my allegiances in life are like God, family, and HubSpot. Like I have nothing but warm and loving things to say about this platform. But another point of confusion in reports is this little refresh button. It is in the case of your custom objects that you create in the custom object, or your custom reports that you build in the custom reports builder. This button is a lie. I don't know how else to tell you. It doesn't actually really do anything. It does, but here's why it might seem like it's not. There are actually two levels of things that are happening here. When you create a report in the custom report builder, we pull your data out of the data warehouse where it's stored, and we let you play with it and build a report on top of it. And then you put it on in a report, right? Or on a dashboard or whatever. And that pulling from your data warehouse, your actual data, we refresh that every 15 minutes. And that gets pulled in. On your reports and your dashboards, we refresh those based on that 15-minute cache every 2 hours. So if you come in here and this report hasn't been updated for 2 hours, you hit refresh, it will refresh it using the data we've already pulled from the data warehouse. So if it's been 14 minutes since we did that sync, you're going to see 14-minute old data. So if you are going in and updating records and changing things and coming here and hitting refresh and hoping to see new data appear, it might not, because maybe you're at that 13, 14-minute part in that cycle. And if you give it a couple more minutes or up to 15 minutes, then that will hit, and then your refresh button actually will work. But there's no guarantee that you're ever going to see data here that is more fresh than 15 minutes. We, in general, feel like 15 minutes is pretty good for like marketing and sales data. We recognize that it's not adequate for service data. Now that we have Service Hub and we've invested heavily in it, we understand that you want to know real-time things like how many people are waiting in your queue and the average response time. And so we are investigating ways to get this speed faster, but it is taxing on our systems and it is expensive for us to do. And so that's a balance we have to achieve. One cool thing I learned at Inbound, I gave this speech I just gave you in my presentation, and afterwards someone came up to me and said, if you open the report in the custom report builder, if you just click the edit button and then save it again, that forces that 15-minute cache to happen, because when you're in the custom report builder, we're trying to keep that data as live as possible while you're getting it arranged correctly. So that's like the cheat code for getting around that 15-minute refresh time. But I just want you all to know, there may be times where you or someone you love comes and hits this refresh button and feels like it isn't doing a dang thing, because it's not doing a dang thing. And I just wanted you to understand that reality of our reporting engine. So those are the things I have to say about reports. Again, I am not a reporting genius. I'm such a newbie, a greenhorn, a neophyte when it comes to reporting. So if you have really complicated reporting questions, I do intend to get an expert in here sometime and do a reporting deep dive for the Admin HUG. Have not scheduled that yet. But if you have general questions about troubleshooting and anything I just said, happy to take those now or keep moving on.
All right, excellent. So Stacy says, is form submission not available in custom report builder because she can't find it?
I don't know. That is squarely in the camp of things Kyle does not know. But I mean, if we, I think so. Hold on. Actually, I might know. So do you mean when you come here, forms is not a data thing you can select? Because that is true. And we built that form analytics tool because for whatever reason, forms is not here. I don't know if there's a plan to bring form data here or if we intend to keep it separate in the analytics tool. It's kind of a mystery to me why it's set up the way it is. But if you want to report on forms, that analytics tool I showed you under the analytics drop-down thing is the place to go. I'm showing it here, but some of you, any of you who are coming to the event on Friday to learn about the new nav, have the new nav, and I have no idea where the analytics tools are hiding in the new nav. But anyway, if you can find your way to the analytics tools, Forms has its own little tool here now. So that's what's going on there.
All right, excellent. Krista says, are we able to filter by form submit date? We have to create custom properties and use workflows to populate the form submit date to use. Would be nice not to have to create the date field and workflow every time we want to see something within a specific time frame.
Yeah, that sounds totally reasonable to me. I have not spent really any time here with the form analytics tool. I just researched enough to learn that it exists, so I can tell you that. But I do not know. Sorry, I do not know how to work a mouse. I don't know for sure. It seems like there's pretty light filtering here. You are as free as I am to come in here and explore. But I don't really know what all it can do and how it works.
All right. How do we report on meetings booked using specific meeting link in a specific time frame?
I don't know. Honestly, guys, any of your questions about how do I build a report on X, I am just emphatically the wrong person to ask. I know very little about how to build reports. I think this is an important area for you all to develop expertise. I honestly should also develop my expertise here. So I will at some point host a session with someone who actually knows some stuff, and you can bring your hardest reporting questions and we will learn together. But I have not gotten that scheduled yet.
All right. Katrina says she sees reporting happy hour in the future.
It'll be such a happy hour.
All right.
We'll learn so much.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yep. Okay. Okay. So live demo. Great. Let's just power on because we've got 8 minutes. Let me show you user impersonation super fast. And then I also want to show you the data quality command center. Those are the last two things I will finish on. So user impersonation is super simple. I will not go through it entirely, but basically if you have an enterprise version of HubSpot, then you can come in here and you will have an option to log in as user. And then what happens is you get logged in as that user. You see everything in HubSpot as that user word. So if you have any questions or conundrums around whether a person should have access to be able to view or edit a particular thing, or what sidebar they should be seeing, or anything else. There are lots of ways to customize the way people interact with HubSpot based on their permissions, based on their team, based on a variety of settings. And it can be very hard to hold that all in your brain and determine whether or not they're seeing what you actually intended for them to see. So being able to log in as that person can save you a lot of trouble trying to screen share or needing to walk over to their computer and see what they're actually seeing. You can just actually do it yourself and then log back in as yourself and make any adjustments you need to. Super cool enterprise feature, worthwhile, particularly if you have a large team. The thing I really want to spend the last few minutes on here is the data quality command center, we've been calling it. So that's tucked here under data management. It says new. Its beta tag has been removed. It is out of beta as of yesterday, day before yesterday, just a couple days ago, earlier this week. This is in Operations Hub, Professional, and above. You get this page where now we're going beyond troubleshooting. We're not just solving problems we're aware of, we're actually uncovering and preventing errors. And so right now we have 3 cards here in the data quality section. One is about properties, and we're going to spend some time on properties, so I'll come back to that. One is records and tracking how many duplicates there are, how many formatting issues. We covered that in a previous session of how you can find duplicates and fix formatting issues. That's the implementation one if you want to go watch the recording on it. And then data sync, if you have apps synced with data sync, here you can see how many have sync failures, how many have no active syncs. This is really great because before this existed, the only way to know this was to click into each individual integration and check its individual health page. And if you have multiple integrations, or even if you just have one, that was a really lot of steps you had to take just to find out everything was okay. Here, if anything starts failing, you'll be able to see it right away, and you can see into the past, and that's awesome. Where I really want to draw your attention in the final 5 minutes here is this properties report. So I currently, in my portal, have 350 properties. And we can see a chart here, or we can see just numbers here of no data, unused, and duplicates. So no data means there is not a single record anywhere in HubSpot where that particular property has a value. In my 350, I have 119 of these, right? And I guarantee most of these were created for LinkedIn videos. Here's how easy it is to create a property, right? And I never populated it with anything. Unused means they may or may not have a value in them, but they are not being used in any workflows or any reports or any lists or any of the other tools you might use a property in. This is not necessarily bad, right? You don't necessarily want this number to be 0. Maybe the phone number field isn't used in any of those tools, but your reps are calling people daily, right? But still, it's worth noting if something has no data and is unused, maybe you don't need that property. And then duplicates are just ones we think are duplicates. And you can dig deeper if you click this View All Property Insights. Here we can see this one has no data and is unused, right? Maybe we should get rid of that. We can filter by particular issues, right? If we want to see the duplicates, look, industry and industry, multiple checkboxes, single line text, employees and number of employees, right? HubSpot has identified that maybe these properties should be, one should be eliminated, one should be put in. So that's pretty great. And down below, well, no, not down below. If we click on one of these, if we click on, how about became a lead date? I don't know. You get this, you get some information about it up here, what percentage of records have a value. But the thing that's really cool is if we want to zoom way out, we can see at what point this property is getting updated and what it's getting updated by. And you can see way into the past, right? I'm looking at the last 3 years here, and we can see where these updates are coming from. HubSpot itself, when this was not even in beta yet, we implemented this internally, and we were able to find that way back in history, some crazy thing had happened with one of our lead sources, and a bunch of records got updated with bad data, and we had no idea, but we were able to see it in history and find it and fix it. So this is a really powerful tool. You've never been able to see something like this before. This tool existed, and now it is out and it's live. So that is the last thing I want to say about that. We have like 2.5 minutes here. Taylor, if you're asking about this thing we're looking at right now, data quality, this is a Operations Hub Professional feature is where it is housed. Debbie, is there anything in the chat? I'm going to look at the Q&A real quick.
Okay. Stacy says Data Quality Command Center doesn't include custom objects. Is this right?
That is the one question in the Q&A also. So that's a great question. I don't know exactly the limitations of what objects we're looking at here, but we can see right here. Yeah, maybe it is just contacts and companies right now. That's interesting. I don't know whether that's going to expand to others in the future, but I can look into that and find out for you.
Yep, that's it.
That's it. Look at us. We finished with 1.5 minutes to go. So I would really appreciate it if you all would, let me hide. Sorry, I know you all have places you have to go. Stop sharing. Okay. I have a survey, not just about this thing we did here, but this whole 3-part webinar series. I'm very beginning of this admin hug I've created. I don't know what is most valuable to you. I really appreciate the fact that like 100 people have come to each of these. That is a good indication I'm on the right path. But if you have any feedback or requests about how I can make these sessions more valuable, if you have any ideas about cadence or topics or anything else, the survey I just dropped in the chat has a few, pick list kind of questions, but it also has just a general text field where you can tell me whatever you want to tell me in an anonymous format about how I can make this better. I'm really excited and committed to the admin hug, not just the rest of this year, but 2023 and beyond. And I would really love your help on how we can get it better. Brittany, videos will be posted on community.hubspot.com. Since you are here, you will get the email afterward with a link to the recording. And so just keep an eye out for that. I'll try to get it out today, but tomorrow at the latest. So, oh, and Debbie just dropped the link. Debbie, you're fantastic. Thank you, Debbie, so much for being here. Thanks to the 69 of you who are also here present still. We are at time. We got 4 seconds left, so I'm going to cut it off here. And I hope you all have a great day. And let me know if there's anything I can do for you.